The rain hammered the window like 1,000 unspoken regrets, each drop a reminder that some wounds never quite seal. Asher slipped the old silver band onto his finger, the metal cool and unyielding after all these years, fitting as perfectly as the day Elias had knelt in the damp grass of Discovery Park and whispered promises that the world had no right to steal. 30 years had carved lines into his face, but the ring, etched with their initials intertwined like forgotten vines, mocked him still, proof that love could outlast even the grave. In the dim glow of his apartment above the Pike Place Market, Asher stared at his reflection in the rain-streaked glass, the city's pulse thrumming below like a heart that refused to stop beating for the dead. Elias had been 19, all wild curls and defiant laughter, when the car wrapped around a cedar on Highway 99, leaving Asher to bury not just a body, but the boy who had taught him how to dream in colors brighter than Seattle's perpetual gray. And now, on this ordinary Tuesday in his 49th year, the ring whispered back, "What if you never let go?" Asher turned from the window, the floorboards creaking under his bare feet like the settling bones of a life half-lived. He padded to the kitchenette, where the coffee maker gurgled its morning ritual, steam rising in lazy curls that blurred the edges of his vision. The apartment was a testament to survival rather than thriving, shelves sagging under dog-eared paperbacks on American history and poetry, a single fern wilting on the sill because even plants knew when to give up in this town. He poured the black brew into a chipped mug, the one with a faded Space Needle silhouette, and carried it to the worn leather armchair by the bookshelf. Sinking into it, he let the warmth seep through the ceramic, chasing away the chill that had nothing to do with the October drizzle outside. 30 years. The math of it still tripped him up, like a lyric from an old Springsteen song he couldn't quite remember. Elias had been the spark in his otherwise straight-laced world of high school debates and part-time shifts at his dad's hardware store in Ballard. They met at a summer poetry slam in Fremont, Asher reciting Whitman with the awkward fervor of a closeted kid who'd only just kissed a boy behind the bleachers. Elias, with his olive skin and eyes like polished obsidian, had clapped louder than anyone, then cornered him afterward with a grin that cut through the awkwardness like sunlight through fog. "You make the leaves of grass sound like they're plotting a revolution," Head said, and Asher had laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. From there, it unfolded like one of those indie films they'd binge on VHS stolen afternoons in Volunteer Park. Hands brushing under picnic blankets, the thrill of secrecy laced with the terror of discovery. Asher's parents, devout Methodists with roots tangled deep in the Pacific Northwest soil, would have shattered if they knew. Elias' family, transplants from LA chasing tech dreams, pretended tolerance but whispered about phases and distractions. But in those sun-dappled hours, none of it mattered. They built a world of their own, complete with dreams of road trips down the coast. A tiny apartment in Capitol Hill where they'd argue over who'd-burn dinner and make up with slow dances to mixtapes of the Smiths and Tracy Chapman. The ring had been impulsive, bought from a street vendor near the market with crumpled 20s from their tip jars. Simple silver, engraved with A&E in looping script, it symbolized the forever they dared to imagine at 19. Elias slid it onto Asher's finger during a hike up Rattlesnake Ledge, the city sprawling below like a promise. "We're gonna own this, Asher," Head said, his voice fierce against the wind. "No matter what they throw at us." Asher had believed him, because what else do you do when love's first fire burns so hot it singes your doubts to ash? but forever lasted only 6 months. The night of the crash, they'd fought stupid, teenage venom over Elias applying to colleges back east without telling him, the fear of separation twisting into accusations. Asher had stormed out, words like knives lingering in the air. If you want to leave so bad, go. Elias, ever the forgiver, had chased after him in the rain-slicked Mustang borrowed from his uncle, headlights cutting through the downpour on the drive back to Ballard. The curve came too fast, the cedar too solid. By dawn, Asher was at Harborview, the sterile beep of machines drowning out the doctor's quiet apology. The funeral was a blur of black umbrellas and hushed condolences, the kind that pat strangers on the back but leave the heart untouched. Asher's parents handled the arrangements, their faces masks of grief for a boy they'd barely acknowledged as more than a friend. Elias' parents flew in, hollow-eyed and blaming the roads, the weather, anything but the fragile thread of youth. Asher stood at the graveside in Queen and Cemetery, the ring heavy on his finger as they lowered the casket, Elias' curls hidden forever under polished oak. In a moment of madness, Head slipped the band from Elias' cold hand, defying the mortician's polished finality, and pocketed it, a talisman against the void. His own ring stayed, a secret wound Head carry alone. Life clawed forward in fits and starts. College at UW, a degree in literature that led to teaching high school English in a strip mall suburb south of the city. Flings that fizzled like damp firecrackers, men who saw the shadows in his eyes and bolted for brighter lights. His parents softened over decades, coming out to Pride once in the 2000s with tentative rainbow pins, but the silence around Elias lingered like fog in the sound. Asher dated a graphic designer named Theo for 5 years in his 30s, even talked rings again, but the silver band in his drawer whispered doubts, and Theo left for San Francisco with someone who didn't carry ghosts. Now, at 49, Asher taught AP Lit to kids who scrolled TikTok during sonnet discussions, lived for the rare clear day when the Olympics gleamed across the water, and volunteered at the local LGBTQ center on weekends, mentoring teens with stories too familiar to his own. The ring lived in a velvet pouch in his nightstand, pulled out on anniversaries like this one, slipped on to feel the echo of Elias' fingers against his skin. Fit still, impossibly, as if time had conspired to keep him tethered. The buzzer jolted him from reverie, sharp and insistent from the street door below. He glanced at the clock, 7:45 a.m., too early for the mailman. Wiping his hands on his jeans, he shuffled to the intercom, thumbing the button. "Yeah. Asher, it's me, Jordan. Buzz me up, man. Got bagels and a crisis." Jordan Hale, his oldest friend since freshman orientation, burst through the door minutes later, paper bag swinging, his lanky frame bundled in a Barber jacket slick with rain. 40-something like Asher, with a professor's beard and wire-rimmed glasses perpetually fogged. Jordan was the one who'd held him through the worst nights after Elias, the one who'd dragged him to his first gay bar in Belltown and laughed when he spilled his first martini. Now a history prof at Seattle U, Jordan lived in a Queen and Victorian with his husband, Miles, and their rescue lab, but he still crashed Asher's solitude like a well-meaning storm. "You look like hell," Jordan said, dumping the bagels on the counter and shrugging off his coat. "Anniversary?" Asher managed a half-smile, sliding the ring off and tucking it away. "Just the usual ghosts. What's the crisis? Jordan poured coffee without asking, his eyes sharp behind the steam. The center's new volunteer coordinator starts today. 20-something hotshot from Portland, all tattoos and idealism. They want you to show him the ropes this afternoon. Asher leaned against the fridge, the hum vibrating through his shoulder. I'm not in the mood for rookies. Too bad. He's got your name on it. Said he read your essay in that anthology last year. The one about burying love too soon. Jordan's voice softened, the kind of gentle probe that came from decades of knowing where the fractures lay. Besides, you need a distraction. Or at least someone under 50 to talk to. Asher snorted, but the seed planted. The center was his anchor, a brick building off Broadway where kids like had been found mirrors in each other. If this newbie had read his words, those raw pages spilled in a moment of therapy-mandated honesty, maybe there was a bridge to cross. Or maybe it was just bagels talking. By noon, the rain had eased to a mist, cloaking the market in that ethereal haze that made Seattle feel like a memory half-remembered. Asher locked his apartment, the ring pouch a faint weight in his pocket, and descended the creaky stairs to the street. Vendors hawked salmon and tulips, the air thick with brine and fresh blooms, a rhythm as steady as his pulse. He caught the 10 bus east toward Capitol Hill, the window fogging under his breath as the city blurred by, ferry horns in the distance, joggers in neon under overpasses. The center squatted on a corner lot, its rainbow flag limp in the damp, facade painted with murals of intertwined hands in every shade. Inside, the lobby buzzed with the low hum of youth, a trans teen sketching at the intake desk, two guys arguing over board games in the lounge. Jordan waved from the office doorway, then nodded toward the conference room where the new guy waited. He's in there. Go easy, he looks like he could use a friend already. Asher pushed open the door, the scent of fresh paint and instant coffee greeting him. The man by the window turned, and for a heartbeat, the world tilted. Mid-20s, lean build under a fitted black tee and chinos, dark hair tousled just so, with ink peeking from his cuffs, vines and stars curling toward his wrists. But it was the eyes, warm brown flecked with gold, that snagged Asher like a hook from the past. You must be Asher, the young man said, extending a hand, his smile tentative but genuine. I'm Liam Reyes. Thanks for taking me on. Your writing. It got me through a rough patch last year. Asher shook his hand, the grip firm and warm, a spark jumping unbidden. Liam. The name rolled easy, like a lyric from an old folk tune. But close. The resemblance wasn't to Elias, not the curls or the swagger, but in the quiet hunger behind the gaze, the way he held himself as if bracing for the next blow. Welcome aboard, Asher replied, his voice steadier than he felt. Let's see if I can live up to the hype. They spent the afternoon in a whirlwind of orientation, filing protocols for crisis calls, mapping the after-school programs, Liam absorbing it all with quick nods and questions that cut to the heart. He was from Portland originally. Asher learned over vending machine sodas, fresh out of community college with a counseling certificate, fleeing a family that still prayed the gay away. Your essay, Liam said as they stacked flyers. It was like you'd crawled inside my head. That line about the ring fitting after all those years. I get it now. Asher paused, the pouch in his pocket suddenly heavier. You do? Huh. What's your ring story? Liam laughed, soft and self-deprecating, rubbing his bare left hand. Not one yet. But I've got scars enough. Ex who bailed when things got real, left me questioning if I was worth the fight. The words hung. A bridge extended over the chasm of their separate histories. Asher felt the pull, dangerous and familiar, the kind that had once led him to cliff's edges. Dinner later, he heard himself say as the clock ticked toward 5. My treat. Neutral ground. Liam's eyes lit, that gold fleck catching the fluorescent hum. ID like that. The evening unfolded at a hole-in-the-wall Thai place on Broadway, lanterns casting amber glows over steaming plates of pad CEW and green curry. Rain pattered the awning outside, cocooning them in a bubble of shared stories. Liam talked fast at first, animated gestures painting pictures of Portland squats and first kisses in rose gardens. His laugh a bright counterpoint to the city's murmur. Asher listened, letting the words wash over him, the ring pouch forgotten on the chair beside his keys. You don't talk much about yourself, Liam noted over mango sticky rice, his fork pausing mid-air. What's the Asher origin story? Besides the essay. Asher traced the rim of his Singa bottle, condensation slick under his thumb. Small-town kid from Ballard. He started, the words loosening like knots in a rope. Fell hard young. Lost it all in a heartbeat. Spent decades teaching kids not to make my mistakes. Or maybe just to survive them. Liam leaned in, elbows on the scarred wood table, his presence a quiet gravity. Sounds like you survived more than most. That take guts. Or stubbornness, Asher countered, but the compliment lingered, warm as the curry spice. They lingered too, plates cleared but conversation flowing into the night, books that had saved them, songs that hadn't, the absurd beauty of Seattle's endless gray. When the server cleared the last glass, Liam walked him to the bus stop, shoulders brushing in the crowd. This was good, Liam said, rain beating on his lashes. Thanks for the save. Asher nodded, the bus headlights sweeping over them like a spotlight. Yeah. It was. Back in his apartment, the silence pressed heavier, the ring pouch calling from the nightstand. He slipped it on again, the silver cool against his skin, but for the first time in years, it felt less like a chain and more like a key, rusted, perhaps, but still turning. Weeks blurred into a rhythm Asher hadn't known he craved. Mornings at the high school, dissecting Gatsby with juniors who rolled their eyes at the green light but snuck glances at each other across desks. Afternoons at the center, where Liam proved a natural, his easy rapport with the kids disarming walls Asher had hammered at for years. They fell into sync, co-facilitating support groups, grabbing foe after shifts, hikes up Green Lake where geese scattered underfoot and Liam's stories unfurled like pathside wildflowers. He was 27 to Asher's 49, a gap that should have yawned like the sound, but Liam bridged it with a maturity born of hard miles. Head couch-surfed through his teens, come out at 16 to a mother who burned his coming-out letter in the sink, found solace in zines and queer lit borrowed from library shelves. Asher saw echoes of his own youth in Liam's fire, the defiance masked as charm, the way Head touched Asher's arm during a laugh, casual but charged, like testing waters before a dive. One crisp November evening, after a center fundraiser at a Belltown loft, live jazz and rainbow cupcakes, they ended up at Asher's place, the market fireworks popping distant over the water. Liam sprawled on the rug, back against the armchair, nursing a beer while Asher fiddled with the record player, needle dropping on Cohen's gravel voice croon. "This place feels like you," Liam said, gesturing at the shelves. "Layers. Like a good story." Asher sank into the chair, feet brushing Liam's shoulder. "Or a cluttered mind." Liam tilted his head, eyes tracing Asher's face in the lamplight. "Tell me about him." "Elias. If you want." The name hung, unuttered in company for so long it felt foreign on the tongue. Asher hesitated, then pulled the pouch from his pocket, the ring glinting as he rolled it between fingers. 19. Poetry slams and midnight drives. He made me believe in forever until the road said otherwise. Liam took the ring when offered, holding it to the light, his touch lingering on Asher's knuckles. "That's beautiful." "And brutal." They sat in the quiet after, Cohen's voice weaving through the space, Liam's head eventually resting against Asher's knee. The contact was innocent at first, a friend's comfort, but when Asher threaded fingers through Liam's hair, dark strands soft as raven feathers, the air thickened. Liam looked up, breath catching, and the kiss came slow, inevitable, lips meeting with the tenderness of two souls recognizing home. It deepened in waves, hands mapping unfamiliar terrain, shirts shed to the rug in a tangle of need long dormant. Liam's skin was warm under Asher's palms, inked vines trailing like secrets across ribs, and for a moment, Asher forgot the years, lost in the rhythm of gasps and whispers. They moved to the bedroom, sheets cool against fevered skin, bodies aligning in a dance that felt both new and ancient. Afterward, tangled and spent, Liam traced the ring scar on Asher's finger, a faint pale circle from decades of absence. "You deserve this too," Liam murmured, voice thick with sleep. "The living part." Asher held him closer, heart pounding against ribs, the rain a soft percussion outside. "Maybe," he whispered. For the first time, it didn't feel like betrayal. Winter clamped down on Seattle like a vice, holidays strung with lights that mocked the dark. Asher and Liam carved a quiet pocket amid the frenzy. Tree trimming with Jordan and Miles, eggnog spiked with rum and stories swapped over fireplaces. The center buzzed with year-end drives, kids wrapping gifts for families that might not understand. And Asher watched Liam shine, organizing toy drives, his laugh cutting through the stress like a blade through fog. But cracks spiderwebbed beneath the surface. Asher's students noticed his distraction, a pop quiz handed back with hearts doodled in margins. Whispers of Mr. Cole's glow-up rippling through halls. At home, the ring pouch stayed shut, but doubts gnawed. Was this fair to Liam, this man half his age, unscarred by the graves Asher still visited in dreams? Liam, for his part, dove and fierce, cooking pozole from his grandma's recipe, leaving notes in Asher's lunch like post-it valentines. Yet in quiet moments, Asher caught the flicker in Liam's eyes, a shadow of his own old fears, wondering if he'd ever be enough to fill the space Elias had hollowed. January brought the storm. A text from an unknown number, forwarded by Jordan, Elias' parents in from LA. Want to meet? Coffee tomorrow. Asher stared at the screen over breakfast. Liam humming in the shower. Steam curling under the door. Head avoided them since the funeral. Condolences exchanged in numb fragments. Then silence as lives diverged. Now, after 30 years, he went alone, meeting them at a cafe in Fremont. The troll sculpture outside grinning its eternal mischief. Maria and Tomas Reyes had silvered, faces softened by time, but the grief etched deep as ever. Maria hugged him first, fierce and wordless, Tomas clapping his shoulder with a father's awkward grace. We found something, Maria said over lattes, sliding a manila envelope across the table. Cleaning out storage after Tomas' retirement. Elias' journal. Had written about you. A lot. Asher untied the string with trembling fingers. Pages yellowed but ink vivid, Elias' scrawl spilling confessions. Dreams of their future sketched in margins. Asher teaching in a city loft. Them adopting a dog named Whiskey. But midway, the tone shifted. Entries dated weeks before the crash. I love him, but he's scared. Dad's pushing me east. Says Asher'll hold me back. What if I go alone? The words blurred. A punch to the gut. Elias had doubted too. Hidden the fracture behind smiles. And then, the night of the fight, yelled at each other. I drove angry. God, if something happens. Asher closed the journal, breath shallow. You read this? Tomas nodded, eyes wet. We should have reached out sooner. Blamed ourselves too long. But you were his light, Asher. Always. They parted with embraces, promises to stay in touch. But Asher walked the blocks home in a daze. Rain soaking through his coat unheeded. Betrayal wasn't in the words, it was in the what-ifs. The secret Elias had carried alone. The crash that might have been mended with truth. Or not. The ring pouch burned in his pocket like accusation. Liam was at the apartment when he arrived. Concern etching his face at the sight of Asher's sodden state. What happened? Asher handed him the journal without preamble, sinking onto the couch as Liam read in silence. When he finished, Liam's arms wrapped around him, solid and sure. I'm sorry. This heavy. Heavy enough to drown, Asher thought, but aloud he was planning to leave. Without me. Liam pulled back, searching his face. And that changes what? You loved him. He loved you. The mess is human. But the doubt festered, whispering that Liam deserved unburdened joy, not this relic pieced from shards. That night, in bed, Asher lay awake. Liam's steady breaths a counterpoint to his turmoil. The ring slipped on in the dark like armor or chains. Spring teased Seattle with reluctant blooms. Cherry blossoms carpeting Capitol Hill sidewalks in pink drifts. Asher threw himself into work. Lesson plans on Whitman turning obsessive. Center shifts extending into late nights where head mentor alone. Avoiding Liam's gaze across the room. Liam noticed. Of course, his touches lingered longer. Questions softer. But Asher deflected with smiles that didn't reach his eyes. The journal a ghost between them. The crisis crested on a Saturday in May. The center's annual picnic at Gasworks Park. kites dotting the sky like freed regrets. Kids chased frisbees. Jordan grilled veggie burgers. But Asher lingered by the water, wind whipping his collar, the ring pouch a talisman in his jeans. Liam found him there, 2 sodas in hand, expression stormy. "We need to talk," Liam said, pressing a drink into his palm. "You've been pulling away since the journal. Like I'm the one you're punishing." Asher stared at the Olympics, distant and indifferent. "It's not you. It's me. This us feels like I'm dragging you into my wreckage." Liam's laugh was bitter, edged with hurt. "Wreckage? That's what you think this is?" "God, Asher, I'm not some kid playing house. I chose you. Scars and all." But the words from Elias Page's echoed, "Hell hold me back." Asher turned, voice cracking. "You're 27. You could have anyone. Not a 49-year-old widower who can't bury his dead." The fight spilled raw, voices rising over the park's hum, accusations of walls rebuilt, fears of repeating history. Liam paced, tattoos stark against flushed skin. "If you loved me, you'd fight for this. Not push me out because some ghost says you're broken." "I am broken," Asher shot back, the admission tearing free. "And you'll wake up one day hating me for it." Liam stopped, eyes glistening. "Then let me decide that. But if you can't, I won't beg." He walked away then, silhouette blurring against the rusting gas towers, leaving Asher with the wind and the weight of what had just shattered. The ring dug into his palm, silver biting skin, and for the first time, felt too tight, a lie had worn too long. The weeks that followed were a descent into familiar void. Asher returned to solitary routines, solitary coffees at the market, solitary hikes where the trails echoed empty. The center felt hollow without Liam's energy. Kids asking where the new guy was. Jordan shooting him looks heavy with unspoken "I told you so." Liam had transferred to a branch in Tacoma, a mutual decision wrapped in emails. His last text is simple: "Take care of yourself." Asher did the opposite. Whiskey drowned evenings. Sleep evaded in fits of dreams where Elias drove the curve again. Liam's face superimposed on the passenger seat. He visited Queen and Cemetery one gray afternoon, kneeling at the stone-etched Elias Reyes, 1976 to 1995, beloved son. The journal lay open on the grass, pages fluttering like confessions. "Why didn't you tell me?" he whispered to the wind. "About the doubts. The leaving." No answer came, only the distant ferry horn, a reminder that some crossings were one way. But in the quiet, clarity seeped. Elias hadn't betrayed, had been young, scared, human. As had Asher, burying not just love but his capacity to risk again. The ring, slipped on that day, felt foreign now, a relic, not a lifeline. Healing began in fragments. Jordan dragged him to therapy, a soft-spoken woman named Elena in a Belltown office overlooking the sound, who listened without judgment as he unpacked the journal, the fight, the fear. "You're not broken," she said one session, notebook balanced on knee. "You're evolving. The question is, toward what?" Volunteering intensified, Asher leading writing workshops where teens spilled ink on pages like bloodletting. One boy, 16 and freshly out, read a poem about first heartbreaks, voice trembling, and Asher saw Liam in him, the fire, the fragility. Afterward, he texted Liam, "Your workshop's voice echoed in that kid's words today. Miss collaborating." The reply came hours later, "Miss it too. Coffee when you're ready." Summer arrived tentative, sun breaking through clouds like hesitant apologies. They met at the market, awkward at first, hugs lingering too long, silences filled with what-ifs. But over chowder bowls and sourdough, the ease returned, tentative bridges rebuilt. Liam had thrived in Tacoma, but the pull back to Seattle was mutual, unspoken. Talk turned deeper as evenings lengthened. Liam's own ghosts, an ex who'd gaslit him into silence. Asher's dreams of writing again, perhaps a memoir weaving Elias and the now. One night, atop Cary Park with the skyline glittering below, Liam took his hand, thumb brushing the bare finger. "The ring," Asher said quietly. "I buried it with him yesterday." Liam's eyes searched his, understanding dawning. "And now?" "Now," Asher replied, turning his palm up, empty but open. Room for something new. The kiss that followed was a vow, not of forever but of here, lips salt-kissed from the breeze, hands linking like roots seeking soil. They walked back hand in hand, the city unfolding around them, no longer a graveyard but a canvas. By fall, the apartment bloomed with Liam's touches, succulents on sills, vinyl crates stacked by the player, a shared desk where laptops hummed side by side. Asher finished the memoir, pages raw with loss and rebirth, dedicating it to two men who'd taught him love wasn't a ring but a choice, renewed daily. The center thrived, their joint programs drawing crowds, and on clear nights, they'd drive Highway 99, not in fear, but in claim, windows down, music blasting, reclaiming the road. One October Eve, 31 years to the day since the crash, Asher and Liam stood in Discovery Park, the same damp grass where promises had bloomed. Asher knelt, not with a ring but a small oak sapling, roots wrapped in burlap. "For Elias," he said, pressing it into the earth, "who showed me how to love. And for us, who keep choosing it." Liam knelt beside him, dirt under nails, smile radiant. Human as hell, but worth every scar. The rain held off that night, stars pricking the sky like afterthoughts. Asher slipped his hand into Liam's, fingers interlacing without silver or shadow, fitting perfectly in the now. 30 years had taught him that love wasn't buried. It evolved, ring or no, as long as hearts dared to turn the soil.